Hi, how is everybody doing? I just want to do some fun topics because there's so much going on in this world today. So I'm doing growing up in the 60s and 70s. Even though I was a kid back then, 70's I was in elementary school and all that, high school. Yeah, yeah, because I graduated in the 80's. I can't wait to do the 80's. That was one of my favorite years. Um, just to get back and reminisce. And then I think I'm gonna do like the Chinese New Year, because it's the year of the snake next. Just something simple, something easy, something quick, just to blow past with what's going on. You know what I mean? Just something fun. That's it. Every generation looks back at the time period when they were a kid with rose colored glasses. This is especially true of us millennials. I'm not a millennial. I am a Gen X, unknown. So when you think about the time frame when you was a kid, what was the coolest part about being a kid when you were a kid? The number one thing in the 70's was playing outside with your friends, and we had to be in before the street lights came on. And then we actually sat at a table and we had dinner. That's a fact. And we had to use our imagination because you have to understand there was no computer, no internet. We did have landlines, but we actually had to play. We played school, we played house, we played hide and go seek, tag. We played all those things. Yeah, and I was always the mama, and I had to buy my kids clothes, and I was always the teacher. The music, the music was music. They actually had to use instruments. It wasn't no auto tune. It wasn't no computer making beats. No, you actually had to know how to play instruments. No cell phone, no computer. You actually had to sit and talk to somebody instead of asking what's your IG for communication. No, you actually had to sit and talk to people. Excuse me, I gotta grab some. Hold on. Oh, I gotta grab some. Okay, I had to turn off that freezer. Make noise. We got up in the morning. We had Saturday morning cartoons. I guess they still had that, but we learned too. If it's only a bill, we had educational cartoons. It's a bill, it's a bill, and we going up the Capitol Hill. Conjunction function, what's your function? We learned about English, what a conjunction was, and all that. Then we had horror with what was that man named Kennedy who played the music? Count Dracula with the little horror films, and it wasn't horror like it is today. It wasn't nothing like that. Oh yeah, we were latchkey kids for real, for real. I used to wear my key around my neck, and we actually had operators. And when I would get scared, or I thought my grandmother was taking too long to come home, I would literally call the operator, dial zero, and I said, I'm home by myself. I'm scared. And they operated would literally console me and talk to me. And sometimes until my grandmother came home. Also, like we only had one ways. But if it was an emergency or something, you could call the operator and have them break into that line and let them know so and so is trying to call you. There's an emergency, and then we get that person to get off the phone, and we're able to dial. Then two-way calling, I think that came out was oh that didn't come out to the 80s, and then they got three-way calling where we could actually have two people on the phone. Yeah, and we had fun, and we actually had party lines where you could call and meet people, you know, and people did that. Going to the drive-in, it's still that one drive-in is still here in Detroit. Um, Ford and Wyoming. That's the only drive-in I think we got in the state of Michigan. If you ask me, I think that's the only drive-in that's left. But we had movie theaters in the city, downtown, the Adams, the Palms. What else was it? Then on 6 Mile, we had the Mercury. Neighbors really looked out for each other and they watched each other kids. That's a fact. I've been where I am for 3 years and I don't know my neighbor's name but two. And we just say hi and bye. Right. And we could make our mistakes and without it being posted online and everybody knowing about it. Now that's true because I made many mistakes, you know, growing up. Some I regret, some I don't. I could tell you I had a lot of fun. That I did. We had strong immune systems because we played outside. Rain, sleet, snow, sunshine. We played in the snow. I used to love getting out there making snow angels in my snowsuit. Snowball fights. We did all that. We had better immune systems. We had to go to a library. If you had a book report or something to do, you had to go to the library to get your information. And we used to have to find the little cards and then it'll tell you what all these books were in. Yeah, you literally had to go to the library. And we had candy stores, penny candy. All you needed was a quarter. We went roller skating. Every Saturday I was roller skate and I loved the backward skate back then. Oh, right. And if you wanted music, you had to buy albums. They had the little bitty records like 45 that had a single on it. And you really listened to the radio. No, you listened to the radio. You got your news from the radio still. We still had TV. And if you had a black and white TV, you used to put the aluminum foil on the antenna to get it to work right, you know. Because we was under analog, not what we under now? Dang, what is it now? I forgot. A typical day in the 70s, and this is written by someone who was just reminiscing. Oh, they talking about the lawnmower, stepfather running around. My grandmother used to get up at 5 a.m. and I might have a hangover and she'll open up every blind to let that sun in. My head throbbing and she'll be right up under your ear vacuuming. Right to get you up. I couldn't stand that. Your head throbbing, you had a hangover, and she vacuuming. The sun is shining. Oh, I couldn't stand when she did that. You know what? I'm not gonna read that about her story. Mm-mm. No, I'm gonna bypass that. Let me go to January. I think it's the 28th. Then I get to delete all this stuff. Yeah, we just doing fun stuff. So sometimes I don't want to think. What I got on here about the dark web? Oh, that's cute. I ain't in there. We ain't talking about that. Mm-mm. That's too deep. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Found it. Let me get out of Fulton County. Don't feel like talking about. So now we combine in the 60s and the 70s. Oh, what went on? 60s. You had John F. Kennedy assassination. Martin Luther King assassination, Bobby Kennedy assassination, Malcolm X was assassinated. You had the civil rights movement, the sit-ins down south, being water holes, attacked by the dogs. We had that all going on. It was civil disobedience, for a point, for civil rights. But we should have been fighting for was human rights. Because civil rights is what you give to like a dog. You know what I'm saying? And when Malcolm X figured that out, that's when he was going to make his case before the United Nations and fight for our what? Human rights. Then we had the Vietnam War, and the 60s was full of rock and roll, acid, LSD, psychedelic music. My mama went to Woodstock in the 60s, that 3 day music festival. She said she was on acid like 3 days. Now that's the cat. That's the cat. Ain't said nothing all day. Okay, let me see. Some people, especially young people, find life that growing up in the 60s and 70s somewhat strange. But you could actually take the bus. Took the bus everywhere before we drove. And you didn't have to worry about being kidnapped. You just didn't have to worry about those things. Those things happen, but not to the degree that it's happening now. You actually use maps because when we used to take trips, you actually had to pull out a map. You actually had to pull out a map and find your designation and find the highways and the byways. Lord have mercy on the map, you know.
You lie.
Then the baby boomers were still out there because the baby boomers what ended in 64, 65, and those are the people that's actually retiring now. And that's a huge didn't that's gonna be placed in the workforce as they retire. And most companies want them out anyway. Oh, in the 70s we wore bell bottom jeans, hip huggers, clogs, um oh, 60s was tie-dye shirts. Oh, 70s disco music. Donna Summer. Bad girls talking about some bad, bad, bad girls. But they had the disco music. Club 54 in New York was Disco Hall of Fame. We had all that. Oh, cameras. We took Polaroids. And you took the picture and the picture came out Polaroid. That was a big thing if you had a Polaroid camera. The first Earth Day took place on April 22nd, 1970. I was 4 then. When 20 million people took part, it started in the United States and is now a global phenomenon. Oh, during that time, the big environmental issues was air pollution. Acid rain came in the 80s, but yeah, the big thing was air pollution, smog, and how we all wanted to just breathe clean air. And the Environmental Protection Agency was created December 4th, 1970. I didn't even know that. They actually had record stores where you had to go in there and buy the vinyl. Wasn't no tapes. Yep, and I had play clothes and school clothes. So when I came home from school, you do your homework, had dinner. If you had time to go outside, you had to take off your school clothes, put on your play clothes. And when I got disciplined as light as I am with a switch. My grandma didn't play. I remember one time she told me, "Do not go outside till I get here." Honey, I was around there riding my bike around that park, Lafayette Park. She came out there, found me, and had got a switch. I had all kind of welts going back to the house. I talked about the civil rights movement, Vietnam War. Oh yeah, the hippie movement in the 60s. The hippie movement brought about a shift in values with an emphasis on peace. Show was love and personal freedom, influencing fashion choices, music taste, and a more relaxed attitude towards social norms. Oh, Jimi Hendrix. I love me some Jimi Hendrix back in the day. Purple Rain. Oh, punk rock. But I was a punk rock in the 80s. So I don't know why they got this down as for the 60s. Rolling Stones, yep. We had the supposed moon landing back then. Now we know that was fake. Oh, we had the women's right movement during that time. We had school and family. And you was a boy or a girl. Okay, let's get what date was that? That was the January 26th. Hey, so we having fun. Let's see. This 70s. Oh, oh shoot. Hey, I'm live doing the 60s and 70s. I'll call you back.
Oh, I'm gonna come and watch.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Shows weren't streamed but scheduled, and the rules seemed much more relaxed. But as time passed, many of these practices quietly disappeared, replaced by new standards and safety rules. So, what exactly did the 70s kids do that today's kids will never experience? Join us as we take a nostalgic trip back and find out. Prank calls were the original fun before caller ID ruined it.
Sure was. I used to get up there and make prank calls all the time. That is a fact. I love doing prank calls. Yes.
Remember huddling around the landline, giggling with your friends, ready to make a prank call? Is your refrigerator running? Was a classic. Prank calls were an innocent thrill back then, long before caller ID was a thing. No smartphones to ruin the fun, no names flashing up to give you away. The thrill came from not knowing if you'd get caught. But with technology today, prank calling has pretty much died out. It's hard to imagine a time when tricking someone on the phone was the highlight of a weekend. But that was life in the 70s. The golden age of toilet papering. Toilet papering houses was practically an art form in the 1970s. Armed with rolls of toilet paper, kids would sneak out at night to cover trees and rooftops in streams of white. The aftermath looked like some kind of abstract art. It was harmless, rebellious fun. These days,
Ooh.
not so much. With security cameras and Ring doorbells everywhere, you'd be caught before you could even toss the first roll. The modern world just isn't built for these kinds of pranks. What was once a favorite pastime for kids has now been swapped for prank videos on social media.
Oh,
Much
look
less
at that
creative,
house.
wouldn't you agree? And then there was riding bikes after school. School's out, and back in the 1970s, that meant one thing: hopping on your bike and cruising the neighborhood. You didn't need a
Facts.
plan. You just pedaled around with your friends until the streetlights came on.
That's right.
It
That's
was a kind
right.
of freedom today's kids don't really get to experience. No GPS tracking apps, no constant check-ins with parents, just you, your bike, and endless possibilities. That sense of independence is something many kids today may never.
And you had to read a map. If you were traveling, you had, Darlene, you want to come up? I can put the link in.
No. As modern technology and more cautious parenting have replaced these carefree after-school adventures. The great outdoors. You see, in the 70s, kids didn't need organized activities or screens to keep them entertained. The outdoors was the only playground they needed. From dawn until dusk, kids played outside, running, climbing, inventing games, and letting their imaginations run wild. Today, scheduled playdates and digital devices have taken over.
Yes.
Wild adventures that once defined childhood are fading into memories,
Yes.
replaced by structured and, let's be honest, a bit less exciting indoor fun. The freedom to roam, get dirty, and explore on your own terms is a thing of the past. No helmets, no fear.
Right.
Back in the 1970s, riding a bike wasn't just about getting around. It was a freedom. And guess what? Helmets,
Sure wasn't.
wind in your hair, and the thrill of
If you fell, broke your leg, broke your arm, bust your head, you just went to the hospital, got sewed up, put a cast on, and you was back at it the next day. Darling, you want me to put a link in so you can come up?
far from home with no adults around made it all the better. No GPS, no tracking, just pure adventure. Compare that to today, where helmets, supervision, and constant communication with parents are the norm. It's a completely different experience now. Kids today have more safety gear, but less of that carefree spirit that made biking so exciting.
That's a fact.
Parents were less blamed for everything. In the 70s, parenting was a lot more relaxed. If a kid misbehaved, the general attitude was that it was just part of growing up. People didn't point fingers at the parents right away. Kids were expected to learn responsibility on their own.
Facts.
Nowadays, though, if a child steps out of line, there's often an assumption that it's the parent's fault. This shift reflects how our ideas about parenting have changed, with more focus on helicopter parenting and constant involvement in kids' lives. Trampolines without nets. If you had a trampoline in your backyard in the 1970s, you were living the dream. But there was one catch: no safety nets.
Right.
Kids would bounce around with nothing to stop them from flying off the edge.
That's right.
Sure, there were a few more bumps and bruises, but that was part of the fun. Today, trampolines come with nets, padding, and all sorts of safety features, which makes them safer, but in some ways, less exciting.
Okay, we're going to get through that because I got to show some 60s. Let's see. Let's do this one.
Growing up in the 1970s was an adventurous and carefree time where kids still had plenty of freedom. They explored, played, and took risks that would make some people cringe today. Safety certainly wasn't the top priority.
So
but these
what?
daring activities did leave us with an independent spirit, and the memories still bring a smile to those who lived through it. So let's take a look back at the dangers kids ignored in the 1970s. In the 1970s, kids still spent quite a bit of time around train tracks. If they weren't placing pennies on the tracks, they might be found hurling rocks at passing trains or using the rails as a balance beam.
I didn't do that.
Was common.
I didn't do
Making it
that.
across a trestle was an adventure for many kids. Despite dangers, kids would dare each other to keep going, even when they heard the distant rumble of a train. The narrow trestles, which sometimes stretched over deep ravines, added to the thrill. Back then, the potential danger of falling or being hit by a train was a real fear, but some kids still were.
Oh, I can't show that.
Target practice was usually an
Yep.
old soda can.
I had cowboy guns. I remember I dressed up as a cowboy. I had the little belt and I had the cowboy. Yep. Can't show that.
Push you down a steep hill, completely out of control as the tire gained speed. It didn't matter if you crashed into a tree or rolled off into the bushes. It was all about who could stay
I didn't do
rolling the
that
longest.
either.
You'd of course end up dizzy and
I don't
banged
like
up.
this, so I'm getting off of that. Let's try this one.
In the adventure playground, adults aren't even allowed, with saws and hammers and lots of junk.
Growing up in the 1970s and growing up today are two completely different propositions. Cell phones, cable TV, and the internet have revolutionized what it means to be a child, which means kids these days are missing out on a slew of experiences that
Yes.
we all had back in the day. Welcome, I am Nostalgic Nick with Do You Remember? And today, as you might have guessed, we're going to be looking at 25 things that 1970s kids could do, but today's kids just can't. Be sure to hit that thumbs up icon if you enjoy our trip to the past, and subscribe to our channel for more retro content. But now, let's dig into both the good and the bad of being a kid back in the day. Ride in the back of cars on road trips. Ah, the 70s.
So
when
did.
cars were built different,
Yes.
much sturdier, and also maybe parents played a little fast and loose with their kids' safety. But hey, either way, who can forget the majesty of
No seat belts. No seat. Oh, put the link in. I'm gonna do the 60s. I'm not gonna let this. I'm gonna do the 60s. I got it because that's why I combined it. Hold on. Okay, let me put the link in. Okay. All right, here go the link. Okay, there go the link if you want to come on up. Yep, I'm briefly going through this because I want to do
Of driving cross country to grandma's and getting to play slash sleep on a mattress in the back of mom's station wagon.
I remember them
Personally, I was one
station
of 7
wagons.
kids, so 2 of us just cozied up on the floor of our van and crossed our fingers. No, just kidding. Dad was a very safe driver. But I'm not sure parents today would let their kids take a nap on the back dashboard anymore. Go into the liquor store for your parents. Back in the day, it was no big deal for one or both your parents to put.
That's a fact. I'm about to add you now, darling. That's a fact. My mama used to give me a note to go to the store and get her a pack of
Yeah,
cigarettes.
we could do that with a letter.
Yep, that was. You walk. Go
I
ahead.
said, yeah, we could do that. We could go to the store
hmm
with a letter and buy
And
cigarettes. Mm.
the cigarettes was 69 cents.
Oh, I remember them being 25 cents.
Oh, that's because you older than me. But I remember 69 cents. And I remember gas being like 69, 70 cents. And the candy stores. I used to love going to a penny was a penny for real.
Well,
Remember the
remember
candy store? Did you go to the candy store?
yeah, I went to the candy store. They had the cherries. You get 3 cherries for a penny. If you had 50 cents, you could buy the whole neighborhood some candy.
Sure could. And I used to love them cherries. And I always liked them squirrels. I
Oh,
always
I
liked them.
love squirrels.
Yep, the squirrels. And I like that candy now, the caramel with the kind of marshmallow in the middle. I don't know what
Yeah,
you call them.
they still sell them.
That's one of my favorite. Yep. All right, I'm gonna let this go
The
ahead and
liquor
play because
store
I'm gonna get
and
to the
send
60s.
little 9-year-old Susie inside with some cash for a pack of cigarettes and a quart of vodka. The
Oh,
law be damned. Now society would crucify any parent irresponsible enough to use their child for adult errands. Inhale mimeograph paper. So forget climate change. The one thing I truly feel bad for today's kids is that they won't know the ecstasy of sniffing a piece of paper fresh from a mimeograph or a ditto machine. Nothing in the world.
all right, we gonna end that video because that definitely wasn't us. We did not get no paper out the mimeograph. I didn't even know that happened.
They
All right,
did.
we done with that. Oh my God. Of course the thing moved. Yep, I miss those days kind of because I mean, it was just a different time, a different feeling, a different.
Well, we had community then. You know, our neighbors knew us. They knew our parents. Some of them knew our grandparents. And if you got in trouble, you you'll get a whooping by a neighbor.
That's a fact. That's a fact, Darlene. That's a fact.
And then because you embarrassed your mother, you embarrassed your family by misbehaving at somebody else's house, you may get another one when you get home.
That's a fact. I remember when I stole a candy bar from the store and I had took it home and my grandma was like, "Where'd you get that candy bar from?" I was like, "From the store." She with me. I had to take that candy bar back downstairs and give it back to the people. I got a whooping before I took it back and after. I remember, and you know what it was? I think it was one of them like big palms or something like that.
And another thing we had fruit trees.
I used to climb up in the tree and get pears and apples, and my granddaddy had a cherry tree in his
In
backyard.
Detroit,
Yeah,
for real. I remember the
yes.
apple tree. That's about all I remember.
We had an apple tree, a pear tree, and a cherry tree. And the cherry tree was close. You never saw that house in Southwest Detroit, did you?
Mm-mm.
The cherry tree was close to the house, so I could lean over the patio. Well, it was the upper porch, the porch right off of his bedroom, and get a cherry. I
Wow.
wasn't supposed to do that because you could fall, but honey, I would.
I
And I
know you.
climbed.
I know you would. Okay, I'm gonna let this play now. I'm about to get to these 60s. I'm gonna make it.
There are some things that are unique to the decade that we grew up in. The 1970s was no different, having a distinct style
I gotta
that is
go
easily
to the store.
recognizable, even to newer generations. But aside from the obvious disco and bell-bottom trends,
Oh,
more mindful
disco
details
music.
that people living during that time.
Down the
Yes.
summer. Ring my bell. That was it. Yeah. Ring my bell. Ding dong. Ding the link. And remember what free the sheep. Free. Yeah.
Freak
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And
Do,
you could
do,
go to
do,
Belle
do,
Isle.
do, do, do. Freaked out.
Yeah, that was good. Yes. Yes.
Easily recognize. So here are 13 things from the 1970s that kids today would never understand.
I'm looking at the
Options for
store.
watching TV were very different during the 1970s. For one, there were really only 3 TV channels plus public broadcasting. That's right, just
Remember having to put the aluminum foil on that antenna to get the TV to work right?
Ah, to make the rabbit ears work right. Yeah,
Yeah, you remember that?
I most
Uh-huh.
certainly
I'm
do.
gonna scroll past. Yep, I'm gonna scroll past
needle,
this.
and you would have to use a pencil to wind them back in.
Oh,
Cassettes
so
made it pretty
did.
easy to create what we know today as a playlist. And this was the first time we could listen anywhere we wanted. Did you ever run around the house and pretend you were Superman or Batman? Well, if you did during
No,
the
I did not.
1970s, then you most likely had on a pair of superhero underoos. For many kids, they served a dual purpose. They were underwear and part of a costume when you were strutting around the house, feeling invincible. Superhero underoos were more than just clothing. They were your identity, especially the ones that matched the actual superhero outfits. Nowadays, kids can never appreciate their underwear in the same way.
No, we got to.
Recollection Road is proud to partner with Life Story Pro. Watch until the end of this video to learn back then. And that's hard to understand in today's world. But it wasn't without risk, and there was still a chance you might encounter a few weirdos. And that was just part of the fun. Nowadays, it's illegal to hitch free rides in many places.
Oh,
Back
hecky
then,
no. I
it
never
wasn't
did it
unusual to find a
then.
service member, a
With
student,
hitch
or even a
rides.
hippie thumbing for a ride.
Yeah, I
When you
ain't
think
do
back
that.
to the 1970s, men had some serious style. They had manly mustaches, sideburns, big hair,
Okay,
and
yeah,
a
we
distinct
done with
aroma.
that one. All right, this summer break in the 70s. I'm not gonna because I want to get to the 60s.
If you grew up in the 1970s, you probably experienced a summer break that was quite a bit different from what kids have today. Parenting standards in the 1970s required a lot less supervision, and kids were mostly left on their own to do what they wanted to do. Every summer, us 70s kids would have a season of freedom and independence that helped us learn to navigate the world confidently and figure things out on our own. Join me as we take a trip back to see what summer break looked like for kids in the 1970s. To begin with, there were no fifth grade graduation ceremonies or kindergarten commencements. When that last
Nope.
bell rang, school ended and summer began.
I had a fifth grade graduation. I
Yeah,
did.
but I didn't. We had to go. We went to the 6th grade. They changed it a couple of years after I left elementary school. You gotta remember.
Okay, 'cause
What I got
I
10
think I
years on you?
graduated 5th grade in '76.
What I got
Yeah,
10
I think
years
I
on
graduated.
you?
Huh?
What I got 10 years on you?
Yeah, I think so. I'll be 59. Yep, I'll be 59 this year. Yep. See, I didn't know that because I did have a 5th grade. Let me see.
Of course, it didn't feel fully like summer until Monday morning came and you didn't have to go to school. If mom and dad both worked, you'd be on your own for the whole day.
Sure
And
would.
if your mom didn't work, you'd still be on your own for the whole day because mom didn't want you sitting around the house. She wanted you out doing something. And if you didn't have anything to do, you better not say so. Otherwise, mom would be quick to find something for you to do.
That's a
Definitely
fact.
did not want that. Two things we did not have in the 1970s were cell phones or supervised play dates. Kids were in charge of making their own friends, and we were more than comfortable going door to door to find some. Can Adam come out and play? If not, on to the next
Sure
house.
did.
And if you
Sure did. You were going to ask, can they come out and play? Oh my God. This thing done moved again. Dang, I hate when they does that, the stupid phone. Sure did. You didn't even know the people. They just moved in. Can so and so come out and play? Sure did. And you could take the bus. When I moved with my mama, I was taking the bus at 5th grade, and the bus driver would make sure that you got to your designation. You didn't have to worry about getting kidnapped. Ain't that right, Darlene? Oh, Darlene done left. Oh, she must have got kicked off. Okay, here goes some restaurants. Let's see
join us
about
as we
this.
travel back in time to revisit these 10 old restaurants that we miss from the past. Ready? Let's begin with this popular restaurant, Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips.
That still
This was best
exists.
fish and chips
Oh
ever.
no,
Sorry,
show ain't that off. It's
popular
on
in the
silver.
early 70s.
Yup. I
This
used
was
to
a
love
favorite
that.
for many. This restaurant was a fast food seafood chain that used to have many locations. It was started in 1969. In the late 1970s, they had 826 stores around the country, and it was very popular, especially on Fridays during Lent, when the fish and chips meal was a big hit. And the Hush Puppies? Who else loved them? They were the best. I really miss Western-style steakhouse with the same name. Bonanza offered home-style dishes
Oh
like
my
steak,
God, I
chicken,
remember
fish, and
Bonanza.
of course,
I
a
remember
fully stocked
Bonanza,
salad
the
bar and a
steakhouse.
wide variety of side dishes and desserts.
Yes.
Can you still remember the salad bar and the great smell of their grill?
Yes, I
The prices were
remember.
reasonable, making it an affordable place to feed the kids, and the food was always fresh
Oh
and
my God, I
delicious.
remember Bonanza.
The restaurant had a burger with dessert and a toy. In 1978, the chain introduced Star Wars toys. Eating out in the 1970s and 1980s was such a treat. The last Burger Chef franchise, located in Tennessee, closed in 1996, leaving us with nostalgic memories of a past when
We ain't
life was
had
simpler
that. We ain't had
and
that
we
in
enjoyed the
Michigan.
little things. The Ground Round was considered a pioneer of the
I
family
remember the
restaurant
ground
and
round.
sports bar
I do
concepts.
remember the
It
ground
was known for
round.
having TVs everywhere showing cartoons like Woody Woodpecker and Betty Boop.
I
And
remember
an
the
endless supply
ground
of peanuts that
round.
patrons were encouraged in 1958 as Sizzler Family Steakhouse in Culver City, California.
I don't
At
remember
its peak,
Sizzler. I
Sizzler had
don't think
over
we had that
270
here.
locations across the U.S., known for affordable steaks, all-you-can-eat fried shrimp, and a beloved salad and
Wow,
soup.
I don't think we had a
Sizzler was a
sizzler. Let
favorite.
me see.
Inspired not only Dan Blocker to start the Bonanza Steakhouse chain, but also three men to establish Ponderosa
Wait.
Steakhouse.
Oh, I remember Ponderosa. I used to love Ponderosa.
From the show. At its peak in the early 1990s, there were over 700 Ponderosa locations. After years of rivalry,
Oh, and they had the best wings. They wings with that
Ponderosa
steak.
still operates a few locations and Blue Spires.
Oh, Howard
In the
Johnson.
1950s, family outings and vacations often included a stop
They
at
had
a
good
restaurant
food.
for ice cream or a meal with 28 ice cream flavors to choose from. Imagine 28 flavors. That made it popular with kids. One of its notable menu offerings was its Frankfurters, which were dipped in butter and served on double buttered New England style buns. It was famous. The restaurant even made an appearance in an episode of Mad Men.
That's Howard
And Don Draper
Johnson.
was
Yep,
spotted
we had
dining
one
there.
right here on Jefferson until
Despite
the
its early
80s,
success,
until almost the
rise of
90s.
fast food chains
He went
like
out of
McDonald's
business in the
was catered
90s.
to the baby boomer generation. Food culture in the 1960s.
Oh, I used to love
At
Red
its peak,
Barn.
Red Barn boasted
I
400
used to
restaurants
love
across
Red
19
Barn.
states. Renowned for its signature hamburgers like Big
Look,
Birdie and
$1.49.
Red Barn also offered fried chicken, fish sandwiches, and a pioneering salad bar. Customers would place their orders at the counter.
Man,
inside the
I
barn
used to
themed
love me
restaurant,
some Red
characterized by its
Barn.
long restaurant chain had approximately 500
Shakies.
stores
I don't
throughout the
remember no
United States.
Shakies.
For sure, it was a cherished destination for families and
I don't
friends
remember
to
no
gather.
Shakies.
And I almost forgot the fried chicken and mojo steak lovers across the United States. With its affordable prices
Oh, we
and
still
decent
got
food
steak and
quality,
ale.
steak and ale was also
We
known
still
for its
got
wide
that.
selection of sides, including loaded baked potatoes.
Okay, we're going to do this last one, then I'm about to hit the 60s. This is toys.
Welcome back, folks. 25 forgotten toys from the 1970s is nation for children. They encourage storytelling and role-playing, allowing kids to craft their own narratives. Over time, changes in safety standards and toy trends evolved their design. Yet the essence of Little People and the imaginative play
I
they
remember
inspired
those.
continue to be celebrated by those who grew up with them, serving as a reminder of the boundless adventures that await in the simplest of toys. Since 1955, Woolly Willy has captivated children with its magnetic powder and pen, allowing for endless facial hair designs on its bald cartoon face.
I don't
Peaking in
remember no
popularity in
Willy
the
Willy. I
70s,
don't remember
this toy
that.
was more than imagination and a
What is
trigger
this?
finger. Tomy Pocket Games arrived in the late 70s, perfectly sized for travel and designed to entertain
I
and
remember
challenge.
this.
These handheld games were a testament to the portable day, offering puzzles and challenges that could any car ride or rainy day into an opportunity for fun.
I remember
Before the
that.
dominance of digital
I'm about to
handheld
get.
games,
Let me
Tomy
see.
Pocket renewed popularity in the 70s served as a tangible
Oh,
reminder
Play-Doh.
of beauty and change and the endless possibilities that come from looking at the world from different angles.
Oh, that's a
The
telescope.
kaleidoscope's timeless appeal lies in its ability to transform ordinary light and beads into extraordinary visions, making it a cherished keepsake that
I
represents
remember
the
the
joy and wonder of
kaleidoscope.
discovery.
Let me see.
Laying the groundwork for the gaming revolution to come. Although technology quickly evolved beyond Telstar's capabilities, the console holds a special place in the history of video
I don't
gaming,
remember this.
remembered fondly by those who first experienced video games through its black and white display. The Evel Knievel stunt cycle, introduced in the
I remember
1970s,
that.
allowed kids to recreate the death-defying stunts of America's iconic Daredevil. This toy captured the essence of Evel Knievel's spirit, empowering children to imagine and perform their own spectacular feats. As Evel Knievel's real-life stunts became the stuff of legend, the
Yep.
stunt cycle became a cherished
I
part of
remember
many
him.
childhood. They were miniaturized versions of the iconic red and white Ford Grand Torino, complete. Despite the evolution of toys
Okay, let me
towards
get to the 60s. Let me get to the 60s. Oh, wait a minute, what date? I gotta go. Okay. Almost there. Man, Darlene, wasn't that sad with that lady that lost her two kids? Girl, that broke my heart. Okay, it's coming up now. That broke my heart. All right, I got one more day. All right, let me see. It's coming up now. Danye, turn that down. Oh, where did all this? Oh, no, that's on the. Okay, I'm going to do it this way. I'm not going to continue. I know what to do. Man, what is you doing? Here we go. Turn that down.
You stay recording? Growing up during the 1960s meant that you experienced firsthand some of the most important moments of the last 100 years. The decade was also full of details that made your childhood special, and some of which make you still yearn for the past. This video revisits some of my older videos, compiling them into a longer, comprehensive presentation. So please enjoy this compilation of If You Grew Up in the 1960s, You Remember This. Those of you who grew up during the 1960s most likely remember it as a simpler time, even through all the chaos that made much of the decade. The 60s were measured by those quintessential moments of childhood, like playing outside all day during the summer, riding your banana bikes, taking family vacations in the station wagon, and maybe most notably, the fascination with the moon landing. Baseball has never been more exciting than it was in 1961, when Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle were in a race to break Babe Ruth's record of 60 home runs in a single season. That all changed on October 1st, when during the last game of the regular season, Maris hit his 61st home run against the Boston Red Sox. You might also remember collecting and trading baseball cards during this time, because Topps baseball cards were huge.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Rediscover your past by digitizing your family's memories with Legacy Box. Watch until the end of this video. Jump on a BOGO. The BOGO Bow flexes out. TV commercials continue to avoid addressing health issues, leaving consumers uninformed about the true dangers of smoking. By the late
Shoot, I'm
1960s,
smoking now.
the established link between cigarettes and diseases prompted Congress to take the extraordinary step of banning cigarette commercials from the airwaves, effective in early 1971. In the present day, smoking is prohibited in most places, leading to a decline in smoking-related illnesses such as heart disease and lung cancer.
Thanks a
As
lot.
cigarette commercials vanished from TV in the 1970s, leaving a void in advertising, what messages filled the gap, particularly during children's programming? I'm worried. I've heard reports that thousands of persons will be killed or injured on your highways this Christmas. Number 19. Public service announcements during cartoons. In the 1960s in America, there were special messages called public service announcements shown during cartoons on TV. These were like short reminders with important messages for kids. One famous example was about preventing forest fires. It
Show,
featured a character named Smokey Bear.
show was. I remember Smokey
To
Bear.
prevent forest fires. The goal was to teach children about taking care of the environment and being responsible. These messages were not just about selling things, but aimed to make kids think about being good citizens. The cartoons acted as a way to share important values and lessons with young viewers, encouraging them to be mindful of their actions and make positive choices.
I remember Smokey Bear.
Which numbers? In the 60s, the phone company switched to an all-number system, ditching the charming prefixes. A group in San Francisco, the Anti-Digit Dialing League, playfully protested this change, saying it dehumanized the phone system. They wanted to keep the fun names instead of just numbers. As we reminisce about the bygone era of named exchanges on phone numbers, one can't help but question the privacy implications. Yet, moving forward to explore the world of telephone party lines unveils a new layer.
Oh, I remember the party lines.
Where two parties share the line, generally only the bell of the called customer rings.
Number 16, telephone party lines. Party lines were like a
Yes.
group chat for phones back in the day. Instead of each house having its own phone line, several houses shared one line. Each house had its special ring, so they knew when someone was calling for them. But here's the catch. Everyone on the party line could listen in on each other's chats.
Show could.
Imagine having a
Show
phone call
could.
and your neighbor listening in. It was like that. This made people worried about their privacy. These party lines were mainly found in countryside areas and small towns before everyone got their phone lines. They were popular around the middle of the 20th century, but as technology got better, individual phone lines became more common. So party lines faded away as people preferred having their private chats without the whole neighborhood tuning in. Number 15, manual typewriter ribbons.
Oh, I
Back in the
remember that
1960s in
too.
America,
I remember
people
that.
used manual typewriters, and they had these things called typewriter ribbons.
Show did.
These ribbons were like ink for the typewriter. They helped put letters on the paper. But the tricky part was that these ribbons didn't last forever. You had to change them when they ran out. Imagine it like putting a new cartridge in your printer today. Now, changing these ribbons wasn't as simple as pressing a button. It could be messy. You had to be
Sure
careful not
was
to get ink on
messy.
your fingers or clothes. It's so different from today's world, where we type on our clean computer keyboards. Back then, dealing with ribbons was just a part of using a typewriter. It's funny to think about how something as simple as changing ink ribbons was once a big deal before everything went digital. Number 14, using maps and printed directions for navigation. In the days before
Yes, you
everyone
had to
Google
use a
Maps and
map
other
to
fancy
get
digital
somewhere.
maps,
Yes.
folks in the USA had to get creative to find their way around. Back in the 1960s and beyond, when technology was less high-tech, people relied on a bunch of methods to figure out where they were going.
Show
They'd
did.
unfold big paper maps, jot down directions on services like MapQuest, ask friendly locals for help, keep an eye out for physical landmarks, and pay attention to road signs. Some even had these special gadgets called GPS devices just for navigating. People were also
In
pretty
the
skilled at reading
60s?
maps the old-fashioned way, using their knack for understanding and following maps to make sure they got where they wanted to go. Those were the days before everything was just a tap away on a screen. As people in the 1960s unfolded big paper maps and relied on creative navigation methods, they had another trick up their sleeves: carbon paper. Number 13, carbon paper for copies.
Show
In the
did.
golden days,
Show
before
did. I
photocopiers
remember
became a
that.
thing, people used a clever invention called carbon paper to make copies of their writings or typed documents. It was like magic paper. Here's how it worked. You'd have your original document and place a sheet of carbon paper underneath it,
Yup.
usually sandwiched between another blank sheet. When you wrote or typed on the top sheet, the carbon paper transferred the ink or impressions to the blank sheet below,
Show
creating
did.
an instant copy. It was like making a secret twin for your paper. People used carbon papers in offices, at home, and pretty much anywhere they needed copies. Even though it wasn't as quick or as easy as using a photocopier, carbon paper got the job done when you needed a copy of something important. It was a simple but clever way to make sure important documents were safely duplicated. Number 12, TV shows signing off at night.
So
Back in the
did.
1960s, when kids today weren't even a twinkle in their parents' eyes, something special happened on TV that they might never understand. At the end of a long day of shows, television stations would sign off for the night.
So
That meant no
did.
more programs until the next
All the
day.
way up into
Can
the
you imagine
80s.
that?
Yep.
Instead of endless streaming and shows all day and night, TV stations would play the national anthem or show a test pattern to let everyone know it was time to say goodnight.
Yep.
It was like a cozy little ritual to wind down the day. But nowadays, with 24/7 programming and endless streaming options, the idea of TV channels signing off at night seems like something from a whole different world. Number 11, using encyclopedias for research.
So
In the
did. I
early
had a set of
1960s, kids
encyclopedias.
had a different
Yes.
way of getting info compared to today's tech-savvy youngsters.
Yep.
Back then, when they wanted to learn about things, they didn't have fancy online searches. Nope. They used these big books called encyclopedias. Picture thick sets of printed books, each packed with facts and info on all sorts of stuff. Need to know about the moon landing or the Beatles? Flip through the pages. Unlike the quick clicks of today, using encyclopedias took time and patience. Kids would search for what they needed, scanning through pages until they found the right article. It was a hands-on adventure in learning, not just a speedy click away. As kids in the 1960s flipped through encyclopedias for info, they relied on patience. But what about crunching numbers in offices? Did adding machines with paper rolls demand the same patience? Number 10, adding machines with paper rolls.
I don't remember that.
Back in the 1960s, offices used adding machines with paper rolls for calculations. These machines were like big, clunky calculators, but they didn't have any fancy sirens or the ability to save your work like computers do today. Instead, they had a paper roll where all the numbers and calculations would show up as you press the buttons. You'd have to keep track of your math on this long strip of paper, kind of like a never-ending receipt. If you made a mistake, there was no delete button. You had to start all over again.
So
Kids today might find it hard to imagine doing math without a digital screen to help. But back then, these adding machines were the best tools available for number crunching in the office.
You're looking at the world's most popular soft drink with the new aluminum pull-open top.
Number 9, pull-tab soda cans. In the early 1960s, soda cans had a different kind of top called pull tabs. These tabs were easy to open, but they caused a big littering problem. The whole tab would come out the can, and people just dropped it on the ground. This made a lot of mess everywhere. People would toss these pull tabs on the streets, in parks, and even on beaches. It became a big issue because these tabs didn't stay connected to the can like today's pop tops do. Eventually, people started to realize how bad this was for the environment, and they came up with a new design for soda cans. This new design kept the tabs
We were never allowed to talk back in any way, even to question why should I do something or could I do it later. We weren't treated as if we were people. We were another species.
Another rule, control your emotions. In the 60s, masses of baby boomers would reverse this one and, quote, let it all hang out.
Oh, I'm so happy. I could be a model or a cover girl.
Hey, what's gotten into that crazy kid sister?
Oh, Jeff, don't be that way.
Notice how Mother seems to become angry herself because of Jeff's anger. Perhaps she shouldn't, but anger is a violent emotion, and we often see an induction of behavior or spread of emotion to other persons like a contagious disease.
If you misbehaved, you weren't normal.
We were never allowed to talk back in any way.
So what?
the cans, which helped cut down on littering. So now, when you open up a soda
Baseball has never been more exciting than it was in 1961, when Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle were in a race to break Babe Ruth's record of 60 home runs in a single season. That all changed on October 1st, when during the last game of the regular season,
Oh, Darlene,
Maris
did I
hit his
put you back up
61st home
here?
run against the
Let
Boston
me
Red
add
Sox.
you.
You're
You might
in the
also
show.
remember
Everyone
Clinton
can
trading
see and
baseball
hear
cards
you.
during this time.
Huh?
It says I'm in
What
the
you say?
show.
You are
It said,
now. I just clicked you in. Yep,
yeah,
I
I'm
just
there.
clicked you in. I need to show the uproar in the 60s.
Show before the uproar, then you can show after.
Like,
Remember they used to have the swimming trucks that come down the street.
oh, you know what? Let me show you this. I just found something. The black side.
I wish I had brought my thing here. I love my tinkle.
Oh, they ain't saying nothing. This is Harlem in the 60s. It's silent though.
Oh.
Let me see if I can find something else.
Well, we used to play jacks.
I did
Hopscotch.
too.
We played schoolhouse rock on the steps.
Yep.
We had played hide and seek, and we used to race. What's going on?
I'm trying to
Why
find.
is
Let me
fatherlessness still a
see.
growing issue in this country? The 1960s, some well-meaning policies were put forth that ended up not doing so well. In fact, they actually incentivized single-mother households. Specifically, in 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson launched his Great Society, an initiative with the goal of beating poverty, reducing crime, and promoting equality. There was one rule that ruined it all, the man in the house rule, which essentially said that if you have a working or able-bodied man living in your house, we cannot help you. They even went as far as to send federal agents to these households to make sure that no man was living there. If I was a mom at the time, I would throw the man out of the house too to get that check. These things don't exactly promote marriage. This is exactly why we shouldn't judge policies based on their intentions, but actually on their results. And these results don't bode well.
Yeah,
That's the fact. That's how they
they were
broke up the
breaking up
black
the
family
family.
back then.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying before. This is before the civil rights. Okay, I found something. White only suburb.
Wait a minute, let me turn. I can't see.
When Sanu Thadani Israni bought a house in this neighborhood in California's Silicon Valley, she found something disturbing in the fine print of her home deed.
The language that I read basically said the only people allowed to live in this community, in these homes, are white, unless you're a servant.
Unless you a servant.
And the racist covenants were attached to the deeds of all 500 some homes here. The rules are no longer enforceable or even legal, but they've been on the books since the neighborhood was laid out 70 years ago. And they help illustrate how so many of America's suburbs ended up segregated.
It hurts. It hurts to be told you're not welcome. Forget welcome, you're not allowed. It so offended me, I thought, well, this has to be offending everyone who buys property here.
Grew out of historical motive. The New Deal programs launched between 1933 and the end of the Second World War transformed society. But Black Americans reaped far fewer benefits from these programs than white Americans.
The New Deal expanded government capacities in a way that provided economic rights for people. The right to capital, the right to a job, the right to health care, the right to old age pension. What was problematic is that that right was not inclusive.
One of the clearest examples of this came when New Deal agencies began insuring affordable home loans. Before backing the loans, agencies mapped communities across the country, dividing them into zones judged to be higher or lower risk for banks. Records show a key factor federal mapmakers used to determine this perceived risk was race. This practice, called redlining, largely cut people of color off from affordable borrowing.
It's not a case that you just had these bigoted bankers and these bigoted homeowners. The federal government was culpable. Black people, by design, were excluded from this benefit.
It's exactly what happened in Ladera. In the late 1940s, a mixed-race group of about 100 families banded together to build cheap homes near Stanford University. Workers, teachers, and professors, including the novelist Wallace Stegner, formed a cooperative to buy and transform attractive hilly ranch land into an affordable suburb named Ladera. But the project soon stalled.
No bank.
I know where that is.
Alone.
That was in California, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
It
So
wasn't
those
too far.
was
It
the
wasn't too far from where you
problems
were at. When
and
you
Jim
went up,
Crow.
it wasn't far from where you went when you went to up there. What was the boy who got killed and on Crenshaw?
Which in the 90s,
The young guy.
oh, he didn't get killed. They just whooped his butt.
They killed him. The boy that had the store.
Oh, I don't know.
You do, because you talked about it.
I did. I don't remember.
Didn't you go visit it?
Oh, Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's over where he
Well,
Crenshaw
what I'm
and
saying is,
Lawson.
on the other side of Crenshaw, those hills, around the corner, was Ladera Heights.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna do this quick on the. Let me see if I can find civil rights in the.
I've had to have me some tea. Make my own tea.
Oh, this might be cute. Fashion in the 60s. Oh, that's Jackie. Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy. Oh, that's some depressing music right there. Lord have mercy. Oh, God. Look at this. They got one on penny candy.
Oh, wow.
Though much of the candy was actually sold by the pound rather than the piece.
Oh, my God. My favorite store was Dexter and Tyler. Right there on the corner where that apartment building was. They had the best penny candy. We would walk there, and that quarter went a long, long way.
Now, we had a candy store that was right across the street from us. Mm-hmm. And it was one by the school. They sold hot sausages and Tahitian treat pop. You remember Tahitian
Mm.
treat?
Yeah, I still like that too. Oh, look at this. Ain't no more. Gone. Kmart gone.
Yep.
Wow.
Today, there are currently just 2 Kmart stores that remain open in the United States.
Two
And
stores left.
embarrassingly, one of the notable tenants. No doubt this was a humiliating experience for a company that
Wow. And remember Sears. Ain't no more Sears, is it?
Online.
Look at this in the 70s. The mall.
Girl, I missed that Penny's. Now I'm gonna tell you, I missed the Penny's catalog for Christmas. Oh, I miss
Right.
it.
They used to be big.
I miss it so much.
The arcade.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we had fun. We had fun. Let me see. I'm trying to find civil rights. Let me see. I'm gonna do the 80s too. Now that's my favorite time, the 80s.
I used to play bat and ball, baby. I was
I
bad.
used to love bat and ball
Oh,
too.
I tried to find one, but the string was too short.
Really?
Since I've been living here. I said I was gonna try to go on I can't we can't shop tomorrow. No shopping tomorrow. You know that, right?
Why?
We're supposed to be trying to boycott on Wednesdays.
For what? Not that Al Sharpton mess.
No, this is just to show how important the black dollar is.
Oh, I ain't heard nothing about it.
Well, I got emails from several people about it.
Did you?
And they were all men.
Oh, look at this. This the 60s.
Segregation tomorrow and segregation forever.
African Americans in Alabama have had enough.
Mm-mm.
In spring 1963, in the state's largest city, Birmingham, they staged nonviolent demonstrations. Wallace responds. Protests are banned. Those arrested forced to pay high bail. Then, America's most prominent civil rights leader comes to Birmingham. April 12th, Good Friday. Martin Luther King Jr. and Ralph Abernathy lead a march from the 16th Street Baptist Church. They are arrested. It is here that King pens his now celebrated letter from Birmingham jail, defending the resistance of African Americans. In solitary confinement, he writes, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." The letter becomes a touchstone for the civil rights movement.
Wow.
You need two computers.
Well, I'm gonna end this right here with Martin Luther King. I'm about to come right back. I'm about to do Year of the Snake and the Chinese Lunar New Year. It's the Chinese Lunar New Year and it's the Year of the Snake, according to the Chinese. I'm just doing something real quick, so I'm about to come right back. So I'm gonna end this, Darlene. You welcome to come right back.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to end this. All right, y'all. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment.